Hey everybody, a quick video here for you today. Now, I said I was going to make a Q&A video, and I still am going to do that. I'm waiting for some more questions to roll in and kind of waiting until I'm in the mood to make videos, but I thought I would make this short one today. Been pretty busy. My life is not all about ancient history. I got a lot of other interests, so I have just been kind of peeking in at YouTube, but I'm still going to make that video. But a lot of people are wondering how old Egypt actually is. Now, the father of church histories, Eusebius, well, he has a little bit to say about this, and he has a chapter in his book, pages 130 through 190 roughly, on the history of the Egyptians, and he uses some Greek historians to fill in the details. Now he says, Diodorus, in the first book of his historical library, writes as follows. Some of them tell the story that the first rulers in Egypt were gods and heroes who ruled for slightly less than 16,000 years. The last of the gods who ruled there was Horus, the son of Isis. Then men became kings of the country in the time of Meres and have continued for slightly less than 5,000 years until the 180th Olympiad, roughly around 60 BC, when I visited Egypt in the reign of Ptolemy, who was called the New Dionysus. And it just goes over the years and the chronology that was recorded by Greek historians. And remember, around 1700, 2000, 2300 years ago, the information was out there. We had great historical libraries such as the one at Alexandria and other places in Egypt that priests had chronicled records for thousands of years. And it says this, and now it is right and fitting for us to add this Manetho's account of the Egyptians, which seems to be reliable history. From the Egyptian records of Manetho, who composed in 3-book commentaries about the gods, demigods, spirits, and the mortal kings who ruled over the Egyptians, up until the time of Darius, the king of the Persians. And the early rulers were called gods, and demigods, and spirits. But I think they were actual rulers because we have them identified in some pre-dynastic tombs on the Giza Plateau and other places. And if they are carving cartouches and offering up a history of these people, they are not just spirits or demigods. They are rulers who were immortalized as godlike figures, the ones who brought civilization to ancient Egypt. And he continues Manetho's account this way. The first man amongst the Egyptians was Hephaestus, who discovered fire for them. He was the father of Sol, the sun. After him came Agathidamian, then Kronos, then Osiris, then Typhon, the brother of Osiris, and then Horus, the son of Osiris and Isis. These were the first rulers of the Egyptians. After them one king succeeded another until the time of Vitus, for a total of 13,900 years. But then he adds this, calculated by lunar years, which lasted for 30 days. That is the period which we call a month, but the men of that time called it a year. And I think that is highly questionable. And he continues right down here. So let the Egyptians boast of their antiquity in ancient times, which preceded the flood. And clearly, Eusebius is trying to write against a deep history in ancient Egypt. But he says, that is the period which we call a month, but the men of that time called it a year, 13,900 years. He's saying they are 13,900 months. And to me, that is just ridiculous. The ancient Egyptians surely knew what a year was. There were indicators, floods, and other things, cosmological things. They certainly knew what a year was based on what they saw in the heavens, heliacal risings, the Nile. They certainly knew what a year was. It certainly wasn't a month. And I should add, the ancient Egyptians had a very clear numbering system. And there are hieroglyphs for numbers and time periods. And they certainly weren't calculating months. I should also add, I think that Eusebius is just intentionally misrepresenting something he thought people would never just be able to figure out for themselves. The ancient Egyptians did chronicle a lunar year, but it was a year, and it just differed a little bit from the time period of a solar year. So they added a 13th month called the Thoth month just to make up the time difference. So they were recording a year, and I think Eusebius is just misrepresenting something intentionally on purpose. It says, after the gods, a race of demigods ruled for 1,255 years. After them, other kings ruled for 1,817 years. After them, 30 kings from Memphis ruled for 1,790 years. And then another 10 kings from Thynis ruled for 350 years. And then the shades and demigods were kings for 5,813 years. He says, the total time which the Egyptians assigned to the gods and demigods and spirits is 24,900 lunar years, which is the equivalent of 2,206 solar years. So all of this pre-Egyptian stuff and the long list of kings that ruled in pre-dynastic times that seems to stretch back thousands of years, well, Eusebius has figured out a way to box that into 2,206 solar years just. Nah, I don't buy that for a second. Now, when forming your own opinion of just how far back Egyptian history goes, I thought I'd share with you another version of the Egyptian history, and this is from Eusebius, his book, The Chronicle, and he goes over a lot of histories of other cultures, but he does have 60 pages on the Egyptians, and he uses what other Greek historians who maybe were living about 500 years before him were writing, and they had full access to the library at Alexandria. But Eusebius is a great debunker. He had to write against an original story from about 2 centuries before when he wrote the church histories, and I know every word of that book, the church histories, and if you want to know what really went on at this time period, well, read it. It's fascinating, and I think there's even YouTube videos, audiobooks of that, and it clearly tells you what was going on, and he's writing against it. Now, Eusebius is the great debunker of the Roman Catholic Church. He is like the Michael Shermer of his time, just thinking of lame things to write against a deep history that the people who were living at the time were actually chronicling and writing about. I think we should listen to the people who lived at this time period and actually wrote a history, instead of people today dismissing certain stories because they just can't accept a deep history. I think that's ridiculous. But read many people's versions of history. Put together your own thoughts. This is the father of the church history saying that the Egyptian history goes back many thousands of years. And then thinking of kind of a silly way to debunk that. It doesn't work with Michael Shermer today. And from people today who can clearly make up their own minds, it shouldn't work today. I think Egyptian history goes back many thousands of years. Just how far, that's all up for debate. We have kings lists that go back many thousands of years. The accuracy of those, it's still up for question. But people were chronicling it. Hope you thought this was interesting, and you all have a very nice day.